everyone. Thanks for joining us again this week. And for those of you who have followed along, hopefully you found our time together to be helpful. We're kind of moving from talking about the intangibles to a little bit more tangible tasks and practices that will help you through this transition. So to recap, we've talked a little bit about, quite a bit actually, about emotional and mental readiness and the responsibilities you have as a student to, be prepared in those ways. And now we're going to talk a little bit more about how that adulting kind of continues with the different responsibilities that come along with the college transition. So we'll talk about, the financial responsibilities, which of course is a big one with college. And unfortunately, those things are not slowing down. I'm sure you can talk to your parents or, older family members or siblings about how the adulting phase doesn't really stop. I mean, Morgan and I talk about it still. I mean, we're in our 20s and, it doesn't really slow down. Just a few days ago, my fiance turned 26 and he started having to think about health insurance and car insurance. And, we had thought we already grew up, but it kind of just keeps continuing. So it really kind of starts in college. So, of course, you guys have lots of responsibilities now. And I'm not going to say you're going to be heading into the real world because you guys are in the real world now with lots of responsibilities that you have on your plate. But the real world changes a bit and there's new things to think about. So this adulting series, we'll talk a little bit about those things in regards to the college transition. So what does it look like? What does adulting look like in college? Like I said, the growing will not slow. So buckle in. It can be an exciting time with more responsibilities, but it can also be a little bit overwhelming, right? So there's a transition. You're changing your identity from a high schooler to a college student, right? In college, you're probably going to turn 21 years old, which brings on new responsibilities. You're going to start having more professional experiences, which you may or may not have experienced before. Maybe you've never had a job, or you've maybe only had a part-time job, maybe 5-6 hours a week or 10 hours a week. Maybe you're looking to take on new responsibilities for work, new relationships and expanding your worldview. And then, of course, you're going to make the transition in hopefully about 4 years from a college student to a professional, or maybe a professional in graduate school or another professional school like med school. But you're going to take on a new professional persona. So in those 4 years of college, right, you've got a lot of productivity and growth to get after so that you can be prepared for even the next phase after college, which is, heading into the real world, as they call it. But really, it's just, this professional space where hopefully you're, working a job that you love and you're, cutting a paycheck and maybe getting an apartment or a house or who knows what's next for you after college. So really, these 4 years are to help you prepare for that so that you can, reach all your dreams and, reach your goals, right? So you want to start thinking about those things and what you want for that time. And then, of course, a big piece of adulting is just the financial aspects. And I know at 18 years old, at 17 years old, this is really hard to kind of start to conceptualize. And I'm sure maybe mom, dad, or whoever's at home helping you with these things, has started to talk to you about the finances of college. And I know a lot of you have been overwhelmed by it. But it is really kind of the first big thing that you have to think about when you get to school, because you're going to have all sorts of costs that you didn't have before, right? So to begin, let's start talking about the steps that you can take in order to prepare yourself. So getting organized and creating a plan is really, really important. And step one is to identify what your costs are going to be. Okay, we'll talk a little bit about these costs, whether they are fixed or variable costs. The two differences there being tuition is a fixed cost, right? So for this upcoming school year, tuition is tuition. Okay, that's not something where you can, if you're a full-time student, it's the price is the price, right? Once you've been packaged for financial aid, it's not something you can really control too much. Okay, there may be other fixed costs that you really can't change. It's the cost is the cost, and then there's variable costs where, depending on your usage or the choices you make, how many times you decide to order out food, or how much you drive, right? That will impact your gas. How much you have to spend on gas, right? That's a variable cost. And then two, identifying your budget. So, how much money do I have to spend on these things? Where am I going to allocate my funds? Where are my funds coming from? Do I have some money from mom and dad for college or from grandma or whoever is supporting you. How much is that? How much money have I saved? How much money can I make? All of those things need to be considered so that you can measure them against your costs, right? And then 3, deciding on how you will manage your money. So how will you check in and know that you're, spending the right amount of money and not too much money, right? Making a plan for savings. Are you going to do auto pay or are you going to pay in cash, right? So those are things that you need to think about how you're going to manage it, right? And then, of course, number 4, checking in and reassessing your budget as needed as changes happen, right? If you set yourself up now for 4 years for how you're going to manage and budget your money and what your costs are, chances are those are going to change, right? What if you want to study abroad? All of a sudden, there's costs that are associated with that maybe you didn't foresee, a few years before. So starting to think about those things are really important. So again, you can make the proper investment and also get the return on your investment, which is what we talk about quite a bit. So considering your college expenses, again, these are going to be some of the main ones. However, you may have some that I haven't listed on here. Maybe you support, a sick family member at home, or you have costs that I don't know about. This is really for, you guys to workshop and think through for yourselves, but hopefully it starts to give you a guide. So again, a fixed cost being tuition. You will have to think about your tuition costs throughout college. At Elmhurst, it's really awesome because we do a 5-semester or 5-month payment plan in the fall and spring. So it's 10 payments throughout the whole year for your annual tuition, right? So working with your admissions counselor to figure out what your out-of-pocket cost is and then how you're going to attack that is a way to start to determine your tuition. Okay, and that, like I said, can be broken up into a payment plan, which is 5 payments in the fall, 5 payments in the spring. Okay, so basically you can take that out of pocket balance and divide it straight by 10 if you want to take advantage of a payment plan. That can be really helpful because it helps you manage your payments and watch them closely, as well as get in the habit of paying your tuition monthly, just like you would any other bill, right? So it's a good experience there. And then, of course, a variable cost being books and fees, okay? For example, a nursing student may have to take 2 courses that are lab courses. Lab courses have lab components to them, which always have a fee, right? Because you're going to be using a lab and having access to many more materials, right? So the fees may be higher for a nursing student that semester, or, if you have to take your biology class. Some books in certain disciplines are more expensive than others, right? So starting to, this summer, once you're enrolled in courses, if you're a junior, this will happen your senior year in the summer, starting to determine what your book costs are going to be, and getting a little tricky too, which we'll talk about later with how you can save some money on those things. Living costs are, I put in here fixed, but this can also be variable. Whether you're living on campus or you're staying with mom and dad, your living costs could be fixed, such as rent. It's the same amount every month. Your living costs on campus, it could be the same amount every month. Or, it could be something that you can get a little tricky with, and it could be a variable cost, and that's for you to kind of sort through and decide. Same thing with gas. It could be a variable or fixed cost. It's something that you could track, how much money you're spending each week on gas to get to school and from school if you're a commuter, and then kind of multiply that by all 4 weeks to try to decide what your monthly gas budget is. And then food, of course, is a variable cost. If you pack your lunch every day, you may save money just by getting groceries. You may find that if you're eating out on the weekends a lot, that you're going to have to allocate more funds towards that amount, or maybe you can save money there by doing things like couponing and getting free meals where you can, right? So we'll talk about those things as well. Other costs you have to consider, maybe insurance. Car expenses, you have to have a little bit of money in case your car breaks down, right? Unfortunately, that happens every once in a while. You have to have a little kitty sometimes to put aside in case all of a sudden, our Chicago winters hit and you need new tires or something like that, right? So your emergency funds also have to be considered. And then, of course, social, right? You want to be able to get those tickets for the rooftop Cubs game, or whatever it is. You want to be able to experience those fun social events in college as well. Maybe you want to join a sorority or a fraternity. There's costs associated with those kinds of experiences. study abroad. Obviously, you have to plan quite a bit for some of those experiences and costs. And then, of course, you're going to want to put some money aside in savings too, which is a variable cost. Unfortunately, college students don't tend to be able to save a lot of money. We always, the term is broke college kid for a reason, right? But you have to determine what you're comfortable with there as well. So to dive into like how you can, make the most of those things, definitely take advantage of your status as a student. A lot of businesses will, give students a break. Again, that broke college kid status. Take advantage of it. There's a lot of companies who will give certain deals or student discounts. I'm sure you guys know of this being in high school as well. Something you're familiar with. So keep an eye out for that. I mean, definitely local to Elmhurst, whether you're going to the coffee shop, Brew Point, the local coffee shop, they'll give you 10% off with your J Pass. The movie theaters, the Apple Store, Microsoft, oftentimes will give you quite a bit of a break as a student, whether it's on software or a new MacBook or whatever it may be. So keep an eye out for student discounts. If you already have an advising appointment, for this summer to meet with your academic advisor, you will get your J-Pass. Granted, we can have you on campus, of course, and get a hold of that J-Pass and use it as much as possible. I mean, just pull it out and ask for a student discount wherever you go. You'll be surprised who might have one for you, right? So it's definitely something to, start getting in the habit of. Consider jobs that have tuition support. This is something that I think I found out about my senior year at Elmhurst, and one of my friends, she was like, yeah, I work at Chipotle and they support, some of my tuition or a portion of my tuition each year. And she had to work 20 hours a week, and they put a certain amount towards her tuition as long as she was enrolled. And I was like, how did I not know about this? Right. So consider programs like that. I know Chipotle and Starbucks, sorry for the typo there, have had programs in the past, and I'm pretty sure have continued to have programs like that. Chick-fil-A is another one I've heard of. Again, they're always updating these programs, or maybe taking them away. So don't quote me on these, but these are some that I've heard of. So definitely look into those tuition support programs through jobs, because if you're going to work anyway, maybe work somewhere that will chip in a little extra for your tuition or give you some benefits, right? So look into those things. EC always has events with free food. So especially at admissions events, I mean, you guys know it already. If you come to an open house, there's always food, right? So whether you're going to a student organization fair or a barbecue, we're always having fun on campus, and fun always means food. So if you haven't tried our pita chips and hummus yet that are infamous, or our kettle potato chips that are infamous, definitely, be sure to keep an eye out for events on campus, because there's always free food. And a lot of times there's some left over. So, you can grab some to take with you as well. So yeah, keep your eye out on your email once you get to campus for those things, because we send out very regular emails about things happening on campus. And then, of course, take advantage of on-campus jobs. So for those of you who are through the financial aid packaging process, you may see federal work study as an award on your account. That means you have the status to get an on-campus job funded by the government. However, there are campus jobs that you don't have to have this status. So it's something that you definitely should consider either way on campus. A lot of times those jobs are a little bit more flexible. Sometimes you can work on your homework when you don't have anything to do. They understand that you're a student first, right? So it's a nice job to kind of pair with another part-time job, or to just kind of get your feet wet once you start college and aren't sure how much you can handle. So definitely consider on-campus jobs. We're also in walking distance to Elmhurst, downtown Elmhurst, and there's lots of great companies and small businesses downtown that are always looking to hire college students. So other things to consider as we go along here. Obviously, tuition is one of the biggest chunks of items that your money will have to fund, right? So something that's really important is making sure that you're making the best academic decisions you can as you're going along. And really, the best way to do that is stay in contact with your academic advisor. For my seniors out there who have an advising appointment, you're going to meet your academic advisor soon. If you've declared a major already, that person will be within that department. So if you're a finance major, you're going to be working with an advisor in the business department, right? So that academic advisor is going to be your lifeline. They're going to be able to tell you if you can pick up a minor, what that looks like, and how you can really maximize your tuition dollars to get as much coursework that's right for you as possible, right? You do not want to just pick any random classes without talking to your advisor and find that maybe that's not what you needed for your major, and now you're behind, right? Every class costs money, right? So definitely don't ditch class. If you divide up how much each class actually costs you, you would be sick to think that you would miss a class. Our professors are incredibly skilled. 82% of our faculty have the highest degree in their respective field. They literally couldn't get more qualified, and your money is going towards them teaching you, right? So you want to make sure you're always in class, very engaged, and knowing that you're paying for that, right? So keep in contact with your academic advisor and make sure that you're maximizing your tuition dollars as much as possible. Always take a J term, right? So we have 4 classes in the fall, 4 classes in the spring, and then the whole month of January you take 1 class that is equal to a whole semester's worth of credit, right? So some students are like, man, 2 weeks off at the end of the year and all of January off. This is great. I'm not going to take a class in January. Well, 6 weeks is pretty long, and trust me, after that 2 weeks of vacation at the end of the year, you're ready to get back to campus and back in school. So and it's a class that's included, right? It's a free class, so definitely take advantage of that January term. If you do have unsubsidized loans that you are taking through the federal aid system, try to pay off your interest each year. So this is another little tip. Your interest that you accrue each year gets added onto the principal amount, and then you get interest on top of all of that, right? So it's something that you can consider is to go into your federal loan system and actually pay off the interest that you've accrued through your unsubsidized loan. Now, if you've only taken subsidized loans, those will not accrue interest while you're in college. But if you do have an unsub, maybe you could consider going in and paying down the interest each year. So that's something to consider. Find a flexible cash side hustle. I don't know if any of you guys, dialed in yesterday for Touche, our freshman admission counselor Tyler. He's a video gamer, right? And he gets paid for it. He's like a professional video gamer, and it's a side hustle he has. He's really good at it. If any of you are video gaming fans, definitely look him up. But a lot of us in the office and a lot of people you'll find, ask your parents, ask your family members, have maybe flexible side hustles or other projects that they're doing. Maybe they freelance. In college, it's really easy to get cash gigs on the side, right? Whether it's babysitting, pet sitting, mowing lawns. I mean, you find it tutoring, right? So tutoring high school students in the area. A lot of those jobs are really flexible, and it's based on your availability and your need. And those are great ways to make some money as well. Be sure to fill out the FAFSA every year. So I know it's been a process for most of you, and you're probably really happy to be done with it. However, if you want access to federal aid each year, you will have to continue to file the FAFSA in October. So that's a way to ensure that you're going to continue getting the aid that you need. Also, keep an eye out for continued scholarships and aid to support your tuition and college experiences. I know our honors program is awesome. I was in it when I was at Elmhurst. Next week, we're doing a chat, given a webinar, same format here, where our honors program director, Dr. Mary Kay Mulvaney, is going to talk about the honors program. And through the honors program, there's a lot of great opportunities to have collegiate experiences, professional experiences, study abroad experiences, and some of those have some funds that go along with those experiences, such as endowments that support study abroad or academic conferences. So keep an eye out for those things, because there's a lot of support out there as you continue through college as well. So even though we won't revisit your financial aid package as a student coming in, if there are other scholarships throughout your 4 years, keep an eye out for them, because you can definitely apply for those. Consider, renting your books, not new but used. It makes a big difference. So, there's awesome websites out there. We have, a website where you can rent books, and maybe you consider not buying them new because that is, quite a bit more, um, per textbook, right? So, whether it's Amazon or Chegg.com or, our sites, do some comparisons and see if you can get a textbook for cheaper, or maybe you have a friend who's already taken that class and has it and can lend it to you, or you can swap books. So, make some connections while you're in college so that you can, tap into other people's resources for textbooks as well. And definitely, I know you guys are planning for the summer already. Like, take advantage of your time off, from school. So, after college, the major transition going into the professional world is working full time and not having summers off or spring break. It's a tough transition, trust me. So, while you're in college, take advantage of those 2.5, 3 months in the summer, where you can maybe work full time and make a lot of money, so that you can save it and, take some pressure off of the school year, right? And to kind of move on from the finances, it's not just finances, that you really have to consider in adulting for college. That is a big one, of course, but, another piece is really goes back to that return on investment, idea that we keep talking about, and that's to own your professional development and growth, right? So again, you're putting this money in, you're putting this time in, you're putting this effort in, and you want to make sure that you're getting all of it back. You're wanting to make sure that you get your return on investment, and really, professional development and personal growth is a huge piece of that. So, really kind of taking some time to think about, okay, well, what kind of person do I want to be? What kind of experiences do I want to get in order to be best prepared for my next big transition, which is postgraduate life, right? So, just to give you guys kind of an idea, I mean, internships do not come to you and apply for you to work for them, right? You have to apply for them. You have to seek out internships. You'll have to visit the Center for Professional Excellence and speak with our wonderful, internship coordinator, Holly Coffin, and let her know, hey, I'm a pre-med student. I want to get some experience, some exposure. I want to do job shadowing, or internships, or take on a professional mentor. You kind of have to seek those things out because otherwise, we don't know what that looks like for you. And it's not something that's just built in. Of course, if you're a nursing student, if you're um, an education student, you're going to have student teaching, you're going to have, your nursing clinicals. However, to be competitive in the job market, those things aren't always enough, right? And for other majors, it's not structured at all, really. So go to the Center for Professional Excellence and really own your personal, and professional development and growth. So, this also means building your professional contacts and your network, right? You want to be able to graduate and have a group of people that you've been, um, you know, mingling with and maybe doing internships for, or joining an association, for example, and maybe going to events or things like that where you can network with people so that when you do graduate, you have a group of people that you can tap into and see, if they're hiring, right? That's kind of how it works. Building up your LinkedIn, right? Your professional social platforms. um, and owning your academic, career is, of course, important. Again, keep in touch with your advisor. My advisor told me, my senior year, that I could pick up a business minor. And if I hadn't gone and had a meeting with her, even though as a senior, I really thought I had it figured out by then, I wouldn't have known that I was so close to a business minor, right? Um, so other adulting experiences and learning experience, could be more personal. Some things that you guys might find, that you learn throughout college, and it's a great time for this, is, conflict resolution. I mean, how many of you guys are, taking on roommates this fall, at Elmhurst, or considering living on campus? I'm going to tell you right now, even if your roommate ends up being your best friend, and trust me, my very best friend is my roommate from Elmhurst College. I'm telling you right now, you will have conflict. It's just part of life. And I know you guys have had conflict before in your lives, but in college, you're making that transition to adulthood. So people expect you to kind of handle it yourselves now, and be able to work through those things. There's going to be conflict. conflict in the workplace. There's going to be conflict in marriages at some point, right? I'm sure you've had family conflicts before. And as an adult, you're expected to act like an adult and to manage those conflicts and to learn how to work through them rather than just kind of pushing them off, right? So in college, you'll find that you may learn a lot about conflict resolution, and sometimes those things are hard, but they're really good lessons to learn. Okay. Sometimes learning how to carry yourself professionally is something that some students have more innately than others. Um, you know, you'd be surprised at how many students don't really realize that they have to, not have a selfie picture on their LinkedIn, right? Or that they have to dress professionally for an interview and what that looks like. Learning how to speak professionally, learning how to write a proper email, and in business communications or how to have proper netiquette, as they call it, which is, etiquette online in that space. So, there's a lot of experiences that you can take advantage of at Elmhurst where you can learn how to carry yourself properly and professionally. And it does take a little getting used to and practice, right? And really, ultimately, this is your experience. Um, and college is a really fun 4 years. So be sure to ask for help and take ownership of your own growth and be open to the feedback that you receive from a professor, from a colleague, or a peer in a classroom. If you get feedback from a peer review in a class, really try to take that in and question yourself. How can I get better? Rather than just being like, oh, I hate group work. I don't want to hear it. This is your opportunity to see and get some insight on things that you can grow in. And that's really, really important to be open to that feedback. And that takes a little bit of bravery. So I know that's really hard. It's really hard to get criticism or feedback. So just keep an open mind and be brave about those things because you can do anything if you have that open mind. And remember, I know mom and dad or whoever else is helping you through this, they'll tell you the same thing that everyone you'll find is just doing the best that they can. I don't have it figured out. Morgan, she doesn't have it figured out. I'm sure your parents may even say that they don't have it all figured out, right? Adulting doesn't end. No one is perfect. It's really how you respond to things that happen in your life that builds character and builds strength, right? And makes you who you want to be, right? So college is a fresh start, and enjoy the growth and finding yourself in this amazing and intense time. And hopefully you guys are excited about that and can take some time this summer to kind of brainstorm what that looks like for you. Awesome. Good deal. Let's hop into some questions, Morgan, if you have any, or any other things that we want to discuss.